If Jesus was not resurrected, then his killers would have had the final word. Injustice would have had the final word. Evil would have had the final word. Instead, though, God resurrected him from the dead. In this video, I want to help you think about the significance of Jesus' resurrection as it relates to his personal vindication and God's cosmic plan. That's important for you and me for this reason. If Jesus was not vindicated, then there's no hope of any justice for any of us. But since he was vindicated, we can have hope that evil will not ultimately or always win. Justice will have the final word. To stand firm on that hope, though, we need to understand its tie to Jesus' resurrection. Jesus needed vindication because he was innocent and spoke the truth. Jewish leaders condemned him as a blasphemer, accusing him of speaking falsely about God. They claimed he defamed God. They wanted him to die. So they took him to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, who had him crucified as a criminal based on the pressure he received from the Jewish leaders. Jews killed Jesus, Rome killed Jesus, yet Jesus did nothing wrong, nor did he deserve death. It's tough to acknowledge, but stories like these play out all the time. The judge might be bought and rule in favor of wrong. Thugs kill innocent bystanders after a deal goes sour. A business partner steals the savings and the venture dies. Injustice ruins many lives, with no redemption on this side of death. It's painful to think about, and that's why we love redemption stories, but those stories are far more rare than stories of ruin, which are far more common. And that's one of the reasons God resurrected Jesus. He did it to demonstrate that he is just and will have the final word to right all wrongs. Writers in the New Testament make a big deal about this. When Peter was preaching and teaching after Jesus' resurrection, recorded for us in the book of Acts, he made some crucial claims about Jesus' vindication. Jesus told the Jews that they, along with wicked men, put Jesus to death. He said they disowned the holy and righteous one and that they killed the author of life. And then on the resurrection, Peter said God raised him from the dead, freeing Jesus from the agony of death because it was impossible for death to keep its hold on him. Peter said God did not abandon Jesus to the realm of the dead, nor let his body see decay. All of these statements come from Acts chapter 2 and 3. In short, the people who killed Jesus were wicked. Jesus was innocent and righteous and true. God vindicated him. In fact, the clearest statement on this comes from Paul in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, where he says that Jesus was vindicated by the Spirit. In other words, when the power of the Spirit resurrected Jesus, that was a work of vindication. God vindicated Jesus. Jesus did not deserve to die, so God reversed the works of evil, death, and injustice. When God vindicated Jesus through the resurrection, he displayed for all of us in history that he will one day right all wrongs through Jesus. That's the claim. That's the connection. Our own vindication will come only through Jesus. Jesus promises those who follow him, because I live, you also will live. John chapter 14, verse 19. He tells us not to be afraid and that whoever loses their lives for his sake will find life. To end, I want to spotlight 2 takeaways for living in light of this hope. These takeaways are based on the pattern of Jesus. In our first letter from Peter, he writes in chapter 2, verse 23, when Jesus suffered, he made no threats. Instead, he entrusted himself to him who judges justly. So first, Jesus entrusted himself to God who judges justly. Justice comes in God's timing, which is rarely as quickly as we'd like. For Jesus, it didn't come until after his death. Ultimately, it will be the same for us. God is a just God, and there may be times when he rights wrongs in our lives, and that's according to his own wisdom. And that's also why we have courts. But courts can't heal wounds caused by the wrongs done to us. But God can, and He can begin that work of healing in the present, even if the wrong is not made right. That's how God is so powerful and why it's so important to turn to Him for strength and guidance when we're suffering injustice. So first, Jesus entrusted Himself to God who judges justly. Second, Jesus didn't quit entrusting Himself, but He did so to the point of death. Philippians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9 says, "And being found in appearance as a man, Jesus humbled Himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore, God exalted Him to the highest place and gave Him the name that is above every name." Jesus didn't give up. Jesus didn't stop looking to God. Jesus never lost His confidence in God. He obeyed to the point of a humiliating and excruciating death on a cross. And for that reason, God exalted Him. For that reason, God vindicated Him. And that is the pattern that we can expect for ourselves. Christ calls us to be faithful unto death and then receive our reward. So vindication is one way Jesus' resurrection is significant. It was significant for Jesus, and it's significant for us. If this walk through God's Word was helpful for you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel where you can find more biblical teaching like you just heard, and so that this kind of teaching can find its way to more people. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Aaron Massey, and I'll see you next time.